a very difficult issue. So please, stick to your guns and protect us as much as you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Changes.
My name is Kenneth Heyman. I live at 755 Breeze Bay Road, Cumming, Georgia. I've looked over the proposed ordinance, and it's a very heavy-handed, very complicated set of hoops and barriers that the short-term renter owners like myself, which I live in my home, I see these people and I know what they are like. In many cases, I have got to know some of them, and they're very, very fine people. Our application, or when someone makes an inquiry on their smartphone with us, is a picture of that inquiry. And right there, we can look at that person, make a judgment call as to whether we would like to rent to that person or not. These laws, these rules, will cause perhaps unintended consequences to a particular demographics that I'm concerned about. I've rented to 5 black families. The biggest group, from what I'm told, and where most all this complaint comes from, is from 755 Breeze Bay, my home. That night I rented to 8 people, and they asked me if they could bring over some friends, and I thought, well, how bad could that be? And so I said, sure. I didn't want to be restrictive, and so they had a few more friends than I'd expected. When I got there that night after the call was made that they were being noisy, and the police met me at the top of the drive, there was 5 black faces with blue lights blinking on their face over and over again. And when the policeman came up, no one said anything. The policeman came up and asked what seems to be the problem. And I said, ma'am, I just got here myself. I got the call. I don't know. You'll have to ask my neighbor. And my neighbor said, this can't be legal. And as I looked around, I could see what was his concern. And as I sat there, I thought, well, should I just throw these people out of my home right now? This, you remember, was in the midst of a major racial strife in Atlanta. They were marching in the streets of Atlanta right during this time. So I made perhaps a bad judgment call. I said, you know, I'm going to wait until there's a policeman who says there's a legal violation of the law here. Believe me, I did not want what happened that night happening in my home. No one would rent that home and expect that kind of situation and welcome it. It was appalling to me that I had to sit there and look at this and realize that the policeman, the first thing out of the policeman's mouth when she arrived was to me. I had put my left hand in my left pocket, and she said, sir, do you have a weapon? And immediately I knew it was serious. I'd never had that happen to me in my entire life. The 5 black gentlemen at the top of my driveway were very passive, very gracious. They complained about the noise. And the policeman said right then in front of me, there doesn't seem to be a violation of the code here. Well, what about all these cars parked up and down the street? And of course, I was there. I saw some people parking on the street, legally parked, but I knew it was going to cause an issue. I would never have agreed to have that happen on my property had I known what was going to happen. I was overwhelmed. As I stood there, I made a reasonable decision that I was not going to force these people to leave my home. I felt that would do a tremendous injustice to the reputation in this community and cause all kinds of issues. And so the policeman said there doesn't seem to be a parking violation. And then my neighbor said again, this can't be legal. And she said to him, there's no problem, no law against having a party. I'm going to sum it up now, my statements, because I think there's a bunch of people that like to say something. But if this new ordinance is applied or was applied to long-term renters, it would cause the homeowner to select only those people and families who are in their opinion most likely not to offend their neighbor and cause issues. I believe this could have a significant impact on civil rights and equal housing opportunities. I do. If the homeowner could lose his right to rent his home for 12 months, the punishment for infraction here is for the short-term renter not to be able to rent his home for 12 months. If that were applied to a long-term renter, I'm quite confident that there would be less black families renting in Forsyth County. 7-day rental, that seems reasonable, except for one thing. Most of my renters, all of these 5 families, would never have had the resources to rent that home. Requiring a 7-day rental will...
Can you hold on just 1 second? How many more people are wanting to speak? You've got a half a room behind you. You're taking up all the time.
Okay.
Your people on your side are waving you off, not me.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But this is a serious issue in my opinion. I know everybody wants me to shut up, but you do? Okay.
And they're on your side. They're
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, we need to get hold of the gallery, and everybody
Yes.
needs to have their time to speak,
Yes.
and then we need to.
Yes.
So they
So
need.
you've got
Everybody
6
needs to be
minutes of the 15, and
comfortable.
you've got
Everybody needs to be
about 5
comfortable
more
speaking.
If you're going to wrap it up, thank you, sir.
I mean, if there's really 400 and something homes that do this,
Right.
I mean, honestly, there's not that many that do it bad. But the ones that do it bad have done it really bad. I mean, they have.
Don't disagree.
And
Don't disagree.
and for anybody to come up here and try to play the race card and say it's about race, all I got to say is shame on you.
Shame on
Shame on you. But I agree with
I'm
Chairman
not allowed to
Levin.
let y'all applaud, sorry.